Okay, so a lot of people are asking for an album of cut songs from Epic, so let's talk about it. So for those of you who don't know, the process of writing Epic required a lot of trial and error in the songs. The way this would work is that I would write a song that attempts to capture a plot point or an internal conflict or a part of a character arc or whatever it was trying to accomplish, right? And if it did not serve all of the purposes that I wanted it to serve, I would get rid of it and I would try again. That song draft that was cut is a cut song. Here's an example. Here we have an early draft of the song Storm from the Ocean Saga. This draft is from 2021. Now, when I went through later drafts of the show, because remember, I don't just write it one and done and then I'm done, it's a long process that requires, multiple drafts for each song. When I reevaluated this first draft of Storm, I wanted to lean more into making the storm feel like an uncontrollable force of nature, a divine storm, something that feels really intense, rather than the vibe that I felt in the first draft was a bit more like it was a fun obstacle. And so later I rewrote the song to have heavier orchestration. I made it so that it was in a 7/8 time signature. I wanted it to feel more grandiose. And that's how we got to this. And so that first draft of Storm is a cut song. In truth, the cut song is really just a draft of another song that actually ended up in Epic, or another moment, or another character arc, or something like that, Let me be clear. A cut song is not a song that was cut from Epic due to time constraints or this and that. Those don't exist. There is no song that was supposed to happen in between this song, and then I took it out just so that it was shorter. No, that's not a thing. Because I really wanted these songs to domino into the next. The reason this is important is because the cut songs are not canon. They never happen. So if something happens in a cut song and it's wild and it's wacky, it didn't happen. I was trying to see if I could make it work, but it didn't work. So it's not canon. It's not a poo-poo, you know what I'm saying? There's literally one song in here where Hermes shows up and just friggin' speed blitzes Calypso, and Calypso's just like on the floor after like, don't leave me, this is just like, I'm sorry. That never happened in Epic, but it does happen in that cut song because I was trying to see if that moment would work. Now, most of these cut songs have demos. In this case, a demo is a recording of the song, right? It's fully orchestrated. It's usually voiced by me playing all of the characters. However, there are some demos that do have their corresponding voice actors in them. And yeah, it's an audible representation of what the song would sound like. And there are many of them. I am not joking when I say this. There is more cut song material from Epic than there is actual material in Epic. This list alone has 64 items, and this is just what I found on the preliminary search. There's bound to be more. Now, some of the items on this list are different attempts at what a specific verse from an existing song would have sounded like, and some of these are straight up just completely different takes on events in Epic, like fully orchestrated, completely different songs. And so now is the big question, which is, do I intend to release these demos? Of course. Yes, I do. I just don't know how exactly yet. I'm about to get a little personal here, so prepare yourselves, I guess. Here is my honest, genuine dilemma. The very nature of a rough draft implies that it is not my best work. Don't get me wrong, there are some super exciting cut drafts like Belong to You or Appetite or This Cannot Be the Way. The ones that are like super fun to jam to. But there are also ones that I'm not as proud about. For example, the cut song Ismaris is super fun, but I didn't feel like I had truly found my own musical voice and style yet, Or there's a song called Aeolia, which is interesting because you get to see kind of how this idea eventually evolves into Keep Your Friends Close. But other than that, it's a thing. That one's just not as exciting for me. And so there's a part of me that's worried about releasing all of these on my main artist pages because imagine you've never heard of me, right? Imagine you've never heard of me before and a friend of yours is like, oh, you should check out Rivera-Herrans, his page, his music, this and that. And so you're like, okay, cool, I'll check him out. And so you go to my artist page and you click on shuffle play and the first thing you hear is, give me that baby and I eat it off a tower. Like, hello? Or something else that I don't feel is truly the best representation of my work. or that old cut, that rap battle between Athena and Aphrodite from back in 2019. Anyways, I'm scared that that's gonna be people's first impression of me, and then they're gonna be like, man, this sucks, and then they'll never listen to me again. I don't know. And so that being said, there's a part of me that's like, okay, well, maybe I'll take all of these cut songs and I'll put them on like a different artist page called Mr. Jalapeno or something. But then the problem is a lot less people will see the cut songs, and also I'll have to manage 2 different artist pages on every single platform. And a part of me doesn't want to feel like I have something to hide, you know? Like, it is really cool to see these parts of the process, you know, to see how songs evolved over time. And you can literally see like how, you know, my melodic styles and my music style developed over the process of these cut songs. I just worry because, you know, these demos aren't exactly my best work. And because there are more cut songs from Epic than there are songs in Epic, I worry about the majority of my artist page just being all this stuff that wasn't meant to be. Like the majority of my page just being these cut songs. And so I don't have an answer to this dilemma yet. I'm still trying to figure it out, you know. But in the meantime, I am looking through the cut songs, seeing what I have and what I don't have. Because some of these I just have like an audio demo, but I don't have the actual Logic file where I created that music. And so I'm going around seeing like, okay, which ones can I actually release, you know? And I am excited about people getting to hear these demos, you know, with my original vocals from throughout the years, you know, you're like the vocals in those, you are hearing me in 2019, 2020, you know, and you're hearing me impersonate characters before I really found out what those characters sounded like, you know. It's cool. You get to like actually hear the creation of Epic over time. Like for some of these, I was still a senior in college. Some of these are from 2019. There's one song in here that I remember waiting till after classes were over in the specific classroom so that everybody was gone, so I could like go into the room when nobody was there, put my microphone in there, and then record those vocals because I knew that the acoustics in there were good enough for the purposes of that demo. So anyways, long story short, I am working on releasing the demos of those cut song drafts from Epic. But it's just, it's a behemoth of a project in itself. Because remember, Epic had 40 songs, and this says 63. 63 or more, by the way. 63 or more. It's at least 63. Granted, the demos, for the most part, are already fully recorded with my voice playing all these different characters. But that's done, so that's great. But still, there's so many of them, and I'm going through all of these old files, trying to see like, oh, is that this? Is that that? You know? Let's see what happens.